Welcome to another Creator Showcase. And here we have Spartan X53. You might not recognise the name. I'm hoping you don't, but you'll certainly recognise the creation at the end. From humble beginnings, as they say. I'm assuming this is his very first creation. It was at the very end of the list. It's a very meek, simple creation of a tree. It works just fine. But that's an organic shape. And as you'll see as you go through it, this person is more of an architect than an artist. A bit like John. I think he probably played with Lego as a child. I'm still sticking with my theory. I still think there's something in it. But, you know, from humble beginnings. But as you move into the more architectural side of things, you begin to see his forte. This is part of a sewer complex that I've never actually seen used in a game. Not personally, I can't recall seeing it ever used in a game. Or a dungeon set. Unlike people who make multi-sided assets for use in lots of different ways, he concentrated on creating essentially a Lego set that you could paste together and make a dungeon or a sewer. They're really well made. All the assets are really well made that is made apart from, well, yeah, as I'm saying, apart from the tree is still well made. I couldn't do that. But I wonder if he uses the dual shock more than anything else. That's what I'm wondering. Because the dual shock is great for symmetrical things and architectural things. Not so great for organic things, like the tree. That's what I find anyway. But it's well made. You can repurpose that in lots of different ways. You got a tunnel nail up. Like I said, it could be a sewer. It could be a dungeon. It's an interesting concept. I remember seeing this a long time ago and thinking, yeah, that's a clever idea to give people. It was something I wanted to do myself, actually. Create like a set of assets that weren't usable in many different ways, but were usable to connect together to create something. Like well, my idea was a dungeon. It's obviously pretty cliched, but I think everybody goes for a dungeon. You know? But you can see it's all well made. All well crafted. And here's a junction. It's so well done. It's so well done. And I like the fact he's got the beams on the inside that crisscross in the middle. I find that a nice little touch. You know? There are words for these things. I'm sure somebody like John would be able to tell you what they were called. But I don't know, I'm not an architect. I'm just an ordinary bod. That's all. I shuffled dirt all my life. But I would imagine that he's made cuts for those stones instead of actually placing stones down. And I think that's probably better on the thermo. You'd have to ask somebody like Lucy Stew, something like that. But I'd say these are cuts rather than separate blocks. They look like cuts. And there's another cross section. Again, well made. And you can see how all these will fit together to create a dungeon. There was a game with rats that I think Medium Molecule played it. Something to do with rats. I'm wondering if these assets were used in that. Because it was in a sewer, obviously. That's where rats live, evidently. But, yeah. Very impressive. Well constructed. Made on a grid. so that they all fit together nicely. Similar to the game that MIDI Molecule have allowed us to remix with Connie, you know, the race game. Similar idea, work on a grid, so you can't go far wrong. And then we move into another creation. I don't know whether you'd be able to look at that and think, I think that rings a bell. I've got an idea what that might belong to. I don't think I could, but having seen what he created with it, I can see where he used it. Yeah, it's again well made. I love the little touches of that. Those little, it gives the impression of marble, doesn't it? It's just delicate. They're not cuts. They're not cuts. They're marks. It creates a sense of wealth in the environment you're walking around, because you know only rich people can afford marble. A grandeur. I like that. And there's just a cornerstone with that same sort of marking look. That's that marble look. Nicely done. Very simple. But it just still takes a bit of skill to cut those out. It does for noobs like me anyway, let's put it that way. Yeah, nice little detail. Again, like I said, he's not making assets that can be used in many ways, although you can repurpose them. You'll see he repurposes them in his final creation. But they're not multi-use in the same way that Lucy Stew makes multi-use. You'll see this used in many different ways. I wonder if any of you are getting a clue what this is yet. It'd be fascinating to watch people trying to guess what this person made. Again, there's that marble look. I take a long, hard look at these because he hasn't got so many assets to look through, which is fine. You know, he's taken his time making what he's made, and he reaps the reward at the end when you see what he finally see what he made. You might recognise the second creation from the end, but you might not have realised he'd made that creation before he made the one you will definitely remember. And here's a table up with that same marble effect. White marble. I find the legs interesting. I'd be interested to find out from anybody who's into architecture whether that's accurate. But that what this side legs are inside, it's not crossed. One would expect it to be either even or crossed. I don't know. I don't know whether that could be architecturally correct. That could be a table that really exists or existed, maybe in Roman times. Yeah, very nicely done. And a few chips in it to give it that detail look. I like it. I like it. That weathered look. Again, it's that aspect of make an environment feel like it's functional, like it's been lived in. And chips and things like that do that. Overturned tables, overturned things, like the barrow in that scene I mentioned at the end of one of my shorts. And again, that marble look. The use of just the spray paint is nice, I find, in this. Yeah, instead of allowing the light to do it, he's made sure that he gets the effect he wants. Which is fair enough, the light still does affect it, as you see in the scene. But it makes sure that even if it's not lit in the way he wants, he has the effect he needs. And that's smart, really, I think. I think it's smart to give the illusion as well as allowing the actual game itself. And here's another little asset. I doubt very much if you'll be recognising these assets yet, just because of the lighting he uses. which is really important in his creation. It's the stunning part of his creation, actually. But we're coming close to, I think, an asset that might just give it away. It's it's uniquely done, and to me, it's the standout. It's his signature creation, I think. His signature asset. These are all signature assets, but this one alone just makes you think, not this one. Although he uses this one quite a lot. Again, this is repurposed in many ways. He uses it for stanchions, he has them laid down, the dereliction, he uses them for the effect of dereliction and a broken city. It's it's well made as well. I wonder if those marks on the inside there, I was looking at them and I wondered if he used the mirror tool there. Not the mirror tool, the kaleidoscope. Just because of those grooves. I can't imagine he deliberately put those grooves there, but he thought, oh, that's a nice effect, I'll leave it. Just for that extra little detail. Very well made asset, isn't it? I mean, come on. The grey works nicely as well. And here's the asset you might recognise. I look around on the inside because I think, you know what, that's not a bad little, because it's like, it's just a facade. Look, the back side of it would make a nice little cave, wouldn't it, if you tied those all together? Interesting cave. So I was looking at that one round that way too. But yeah, this is purposed entirely for the frontage, look. It's just the facade. The rest of it is irrelevant because that's all you see. But you might recognise it. Those layered browns. It's amazing how just one asset can give someone away, but I think that one has. For anyone who's been playing Dreams for any length of time or seen a few videos, they'll get that. They'll get that. But before we see the final creation, you might recognise this. I've only called it's just called an environmental test, but I just called it environmental test. I don't know if there was actually a name originally for it or whether it was just an environmental test, but here he's used some of his assets, look, from the sewer or dungeon. He's used his trees. I think he's done a really marvellous job, and this is the first thing I saw of his. I found it striking. Just that look, just the way there's a journey there, isn't there? You want to walk through there. The pathway tells you this is the only way you can go, but you also look at that space, that circular space, and you think, oh, tunnels. Really attractive for an explorer. Caves and tunnels. You just want to delve in and have a quick look. Yeah, it's really well made. I'm not sure if a few of these assets are actually created in the game, and they don't, because there's a few things I see here and there in the next creation that I didn't actually find in his collection of assets. So I'm assuming he made them while he was making the game, so those assets only appear in the game. And they're nothing what you would call extraordinary, so I can see why he would do that. I like this little touch here. You'll see it like that there. I just like that. That's just a nice little touch. I just stopped there for a moment because I think that would be a nice screenshot. And then we move on to the one that you all remember and you'll all recognise this person for. Sacred Serenity. Probably my favourite creation at the moment. It used to be House of Beavis, but for the explorer in me, rather than the investigator, this is up my street. See what I mean about some of these assets? You'll see what I'm saying. He's obviously borrowed assets too, which is perfectly fine because he's repurposed them in a way he wants to repurpose them. But you see those things laid down in dereliction. You see that window, look. He's used that window in different ways. But those stones, he hasn't got those assets. So I reckon he's made those in the game. Look, he's broken the table. Had removed one leg, leant it over. Everything's at a slight angle. Some things are upside down. This door, look, is just that simple window. And there's that stonework. He's taken the floor and he's broken it up there at the start there. He's reused it in different ways. But it's those cliff faces, it's that rock face that to me is his signature. And the colour. He's added a few things to this actually. But there's that floor with the broken... But look, this torch wasn't there before. That's great. That brings it right into the 21st century. This is the place that someone's explored and abandoned his light for some unknown reason. That fountain, I believe, because I saw it first in Lucid Stew's creation, maybe actually from Lucid Stew. I don't know. Could be wrong. But see how he's used the window in so many different ways, as a doorway, as an archway, as a window, as a feature. It's everywhere. There's that little stand he made. Look, there's the top of that other tall thing he made. The tall stanchion. I don't think he made the carpet either, but he's gone around and he's picked things that work perfectly with his creation. I'm saying he, Spartan, sounds very male to me. But there it is in its full glory. I love this creator. That window, that simple window, look how he's used it in so many different ways. There's that fountain. I couldn't find that. But that wall, look, I think he might have stippled that in-game and didn't bother saving it out. But the vases and things at the tops and the bottoms of some of his creations, he's just chopped off. I'm also assuming that painting on the wall is someone else's creation too. I highly doubt he would make that much effort and not save it out as a separate creation. But there's, the lantern as well. I didn't find. But look, this how he's repurposing everything. It's marvellous. It's a marvellous creation. Just stunning. Those cliff faces, I love them. Just like you've got your colour with Cody Bear. That's become his signature. Those cliffs are going to be used all over the place. So just resizing something. Look how he's resized those pillars he's made. Look how he's created that. He's just made it look like there's an old derelict monastery in the distance there. I mean, I say monastery because arched windows and round windows always remind me of monasteries. So I'm assuming maybe he's had the same idea. And he's added those fireflies and a few trees and a building in the distance there. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.